Okay. Welcome to the Fantasy Fiends podcast. I'm your host, Stevie it sounded more like a Barney song.
and with that, Stevie's ruined our podcast again in the first minute and a half.
Yep. And so I'm Stevie Collier. Welcome to the Fantasy Fiends podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Andy Peliquin, and today we are honored to have back again RJ Batla. And I swear to you guys, if go look at his covers, they are so cool. Am I right in saying they're illustrated, RJ?
They are. I guess he does it on his computer. I don't think he hands draws them, but he illustrates them all. All of them are custom. I kind of give him an idea of what I'm looking for, and he'll send me 3 or 4 like mock-ups, and then I'll pick which pose I like, and then we go from there. And usually I get Andy's opinion and some other authors, and yours too, actually.
They are badass. Yeah. We talked about it. It was colors that we were looking at last time.
Yep.
Yep. And I will link in the bottom. RJ, is your Patreon still up?
No, I took it down. It wasn't doing a whole lot, and I couldn't keep up with it to really.
Wait, I'm sorry, not your Patreon.
Get value. Kickstarter. No.
Is it still open?
Nope, it's done. But it was funded, so we're good to go. That got everything covered.
Nicely done.
So it was awesome.
Yeah, next time you're doing that, I apologize for not telling you this beforehand, but let me know and I'll hit my newsletter and we'll talk more and I'll feature it on the podcast too, even if you're not on. I'm trying to,
awesome.
engage more audience, trying to help out more fantasy authors at the beginning of the podcast. And before we begin this podcast, I think
Did he freeze?
I think he did. unless he planned to spend the entire episode with that mouth open.
That's an awesome face.
I know. And he's gonna come back in and he's gonna be like, "So yeah, what did you guys think?" I'll be like, "Great job, Stevie."
That's the best pause face.
I know, it really is. Let's see if I can show everybody in the thing.
Oh, it just went away.
No, yeah, it doesn't work. Well, Stevie's pause face was awesome. Anyways, so in lieu of Stevie's presence, we like to start the week with something awesome. RJ, has anything awesome happened to you this week?
Shoot. What is in? I'm going to go back to kind of the end of last week. I got my book back from the editor for round 2 and got all the line edits edited at the start of this week, or not edited, corrected, and a few little story tweaks. And now I'm just doing the last little finesse things, which just takes for damn ever. I swear.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. So,
and that's
exciting for me.
For Death Cloud or the book 3?
For Death Cloud. Book 3, I haven't even started yet. I've got the vague outlined, but it's not my full-blown outline like usual.
Okay.
And I did manage to get a screen grab of Stevie's face.
Oh, good. Good. That's very important. We'll be able to show that to him later on, and he'll just be thrilled that we did that.
It's very small, but it is what it is.
it's worth every second of it. Okay, so something cool that happened to me. Actually, a couple of cool things. I reached out to an awesome artist, Felix Ortiz, who's done a lot of really amazing book covers, and he's going to do 2 covers for my box sets, for the Hero of Darkness box sets. So I'm super excited because he's like, we've been emailing back and forth, and he's got some amazing ideas. And I've seen some of his. He just did Rob J. Hayes' latest cover, Never Die or something like that, and it's just so cool. And so I'm super excited to see what he does with the Hunter, because the Hunter is such a badass character, and if you've got an artist who can really emphasize that badassery, it will just make these box set covers so cool.
What is going on? I totally missed all of that. Just quick rundown.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Book 2, I've got edited for for the most part, all the little nitpicky stuff. Now it's just all the finesse stuff. And Andy's got a illustrator online for his was for the Hunter series.
Yeah, for the box set for the Hero of Darkness.
For the box set.
Oh, you're doing a box set?
It's going to be 2. It's going to be books 1 to 3 and then 4 to 6. So
nice.
Yeah, I'm either going to release them as 2 box sets or 2 omnibus editions. I'm going to see how I can do it where, Amazon will link the 2 of them together.
I just like the word omnibus.
Yeah, omnibus is a pretty good word.
Can you sorry. Go ahead.
And then the second piece of awesome news is that I heard back from Podium, who's doing my audiobooks, and they're planning to start releasing the books come January. The first book is tentatively scheduled for January 15th, with one every 4 to 6 weeks until book 7 is finally released. They're
so cool.
I think they're mostly done with book 5 recording. And
holy crap.
Yeah, they're really fast.
Wow, so, that's what I was gonna say. Holy cow.
That's magnificent.
Yes. And so by mid to late next year, all 7 audiobooks will be released. And definitely I'm gonna get the narrator for the Night Guild series to do Queen of Thieves as well. So we'll have all 10 books available in audiobook by late next year. Super excited for that.
We're gonna have to have a podcast party for the beginning. First one.
Podcast party.
Definitely.
Podcast party.
And for our listeners and viewers, I will tell you that we have some amazing authors lined up for next year. Some authors, both independently published, some big names in the indie world, and then also some traditionally published authors who fantasy hardcore readers like me will immediately recognize. So I'm super excited for our guest lineup next year. Our guest lineup this year is also really cool. Ryan, we're glad to have you back. But next year's even better.
I want to take over from that and say that the podcast is growing. It's growing faster than we first began, and I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's because people want to see my face painted, people want to see Andy's beard half shaven, but I'm super excited to see big authors reaching out to us and wanting to be a part of this. And I don't know, I'm just really proud of the Fantasy Fiends podcast. If you go to our YouTube channel page, I did redo the banner with dragons, because with dragons it's always better. Andy, go look and see what you think. It took forever to do.
I saw it now.
Do you like it?
Very cool. Yes.
Awesome. Guys, go check that out. And I really just want to say thank you all for listening, watching. Please like and subscribe our videos. That helps us out so much. And I can already tell that people have been doing it, and that really pushes us out. And let's help indies and traditionally published authors alike get shown in the video world, because as of now, there's not a huge audience on YouTube for fantasy books, and why should there be? So let's change that. Another piece of news: Stan Lee died, and I just wanted to bring him up and let's pay our respects. He was a huge reason why I became an author, and I don't know, it just broke my heart to hear that. So, Andy, I know it killed you.
It really did. It was a very sad moment. I was in the middle of work, so it's not like I could really, wallow in my feelings, but it was really sad because until the age of 19, I thought comic books were stupid, were childish. And then I got into reading them, and it kind of changed my life in the sense that I started to embrace all of that side of the entertainment world, comic books, fantasy, sci-fi, much more deeply. So without comic books, I probably never would have been where I am now, because I approach my fantasy series like Marvel approached their comic books. Stan Lee was the first one who sort of integrated all of these series, side by side, and then mixing and matching with each other, where characters show up from one series into the other. And as someone who loves, comic book characters, it was always so exciting for me when Wolverine showed up to fight alongside the Avengers, or one of the Avengers fought with the X-Men, or whatever the story was. And so definitely comic books through Marvel changed my approach to writing. And so definitely, Stan Lee was a huge influence on my life, indirectly, of course.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I mean, he was 95, so it's coming, and it's coming, but that still doesn't mean it's easy for everybody to accept. The great thing about with Stan Lee is he's left such a huge world and legacy that it's going to last for a long time, and there's so much material that people can continue on and writing with it. And it's just, that's some of the cool stuff when somebody like Stan Lee dies, that the creation can keep going versus I don't know, like just say an actor or somebody passes away. It was still sad, but but you're never going to get anything out of them anymore. But when he because he was a creator, a writer, an artist, there's so much more that can come, and I guarantee it'll keep going. No, I mean, money has something to do with that, but it's still all badass.
I feel like the last super influential person or someone with the same amount of influence to die was probably Walt Disney. Like Walt Disney revolutionized the movie industry through Disney Pictures. And the truth is that before Stan Lee, comic books were much more pulpy. They were for kids, they were the Sunday cartoons, they were much more political. And then Stan Lee took Marvel and he turned it really into the thing it is today. Not only the comic book publishing industry juggernaut, because the truth is that there are millions and possibly billions of dollars going through the comic book industry every day, but then also Hollywood. Hollywood is now making a killing off of comic book movies. So things have like the truth is that no one has changed the entertainment industry so profoundly as Stan Lee, I would say, since Walt Disney. Maybe there's someone else that I'm missing, but in my opinion, his mark on the industry, on entertainment overall, will be felt for probably decades or centuries to come.
And I think Walt Disney is frozen, isn't he?
If they didn't lose power in the cryogenic facility.
Yeah. Well, I had something to say, and now I totally lost it. I do have really good news, if not really strange news. I reached out to a band that I really enjoy. They're called the Rigid Empire. They're not huge or anything, but they're really weird, but they have good voices. And we are going to start composing a new song for my brand new series, which is in itself really strange. So we're going to create a... I forgot what their genre is. It's metalcore, so it's like rough plus also like melodic voices. And I'm super excited because I really like these guys' music, and they reached out to me as well today. Like, got back to me within 30 minutes and like, yeah, dude, let's start composing. I was like, oh, okay, let's do it. So I'm going to be writing my very first song.
You are in a band.
I'm in a band, but I doubt they're going to let me get anywhere near the microphone.
That's probably for the best, given how you treated the intro to the podcast today.
I thought it was beautiful. And the reason why I lost connection, guys, is because my huge speakers fell on top of my $5,000 gaming computer. It's the third time it's happened, and it freezes it, which means it's hitting the motherboard somehow. And what's the definition of insanity from Einstein? You keep doing the same thing over again. So now it's like
different results.
Yeah, it's on my bookshelf now, far away from my computer. And RJ, thank you so much for emailing me that snapshot of my face. He caught my face looking at the speaker falling onto my $5,000 computer.
That's where it froze.
That is good.
Yeah, it is. It's hideous. So I think that's it for all good news. Book 2 of my newest series is edited, and I am actually outlining. Oh my god!
Oh, wow. Where's Stevie and what have you done with him?
I don't know. Wow, it's the dark side, right? It's insane. But you know what? I was like getting giddy in my dark room, just like I got the same feeling as if I was writing. So I think I'm gonna enjoy this outlining thing, even though it's like super, super rough and not like as specific as a lot of other outliners. So I'm still thinking I'm half pantser, like 75% pantser, 25% outliner now. But now I'm going to have a stronger ending. So anyway, my little tangent. So today we are talking something really cool, and that is deception. Andy, as usual, why don't you take it away? Wait, it is deception, right?
It is deception.
Or did you deceive me?
When RJ pitched the idea of deception is everywhere, I was thinking about it. I was like, that could be boring. But then I was thinking like I had just watched Last Week Tonight on John Oliver or the Jim Jeffries show or something, and it was talking about politics, and it got me thinking about how how deception really is everywhere. You know, you see deceptive advertising, you see deceptive media. The media portrays a situation one way when it's actually something else entirely. For example, with one of the recent shootings in the last few years. No, sorry. There was a bomb scare or something where suspicious envelopes were being sent to Obama and to Hillary Clinton and things like that. And some of the people on Fox News were like, "Oh, this is definitely a false flag," you know, where they're trying to drum up support by threatening themselves, you know, by causing it. And it was just like, it was just so ridiculous that that's where their mind went, you know, that someone would deceive themselves, but then that they would deceive the masses by saying something like that, by putting that out there with no facts, no information. And so it got me thinking about like how deception really is so present in every aspect of our lives. And it's so hidden because that's what deception is. But when you sort of start to look beneath, you start to think about it, that's when you realize it.
And a lot of it to me seems like it comes from not necessarily a lack of education in a formal education sense, but people just taking it for what they hear, you know. Oh, this wall's purple. Okay, well they said it was purple, so it must be purple, even though I can clearly see it's white, you know, and not diving into it. And that may be just human nature to trust, you know, like the Walter Cronkite back in the day. You could trust the news people felt, and then it's gotten further and further away, in my opinion. I mean, people react instantly, and whatever they think happened, all of a sudden that's exactly what happened, and they're spitting it out because there's the 24/7 news cycle. Just you have to feed the machine, right?
Yeah, that's one thing that I've noticed. Someone, it was The Incredibles 2. I just watched it on the weekend with my family, and the villain was like, you instead of talking about something important, you have talk shows. Instead of playing games, you have game shows. And so like even the news, you know, like as much as I enjoy John Oliver, Jim Jeffries, Samantha Bee, all of these people, really they're making a show out of something that should be, you know, like Walter Cronkite. He delivered the news. It was straightforward. It was simple. You know, there was no political leanings, or there was less political leanings, let's say. Everything was simple. Now it has to be comedy. It has to be funny. It has to be insight. Like it has to be all these different things. And so we're so focused on the entertainment of things that we miss out on the facts. And that's what allows us to be so easily deceived, is because we're focused on the show of everything, that we miss out on the news, or on, you know, on the truth behind things.
I hardly watch the news because it's, you know, I get that the main story is true, but I don't even like the idea that, you know, Fox and CNN, that they cover the same story from a different side. And I don't know. I don't trust it myself. And honestly, I don't really even have a lot of faith. And I know this is political efficacy, but I don't really have a lot of faith that I have any power to change anything. And I remember learning about this in my government courses. And I was like, no. I think I have a thing I think I have power, but in reality, no. Like if I'm in California and I vote Republican, it's not going to work. If I'm in Texas and I vote Democratic, it's not going to work. I don't know. Since we're talking about the news, that's my view on the news. I do feel like I'm being deceived, I guess. You know, they're just telling me what I. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish.
No, that was really it.
And Andy's right on with me, in my opinion. They got to tell a story, because what are they competing for? Airtime. And people's eyeballs. Everything's about eyeballs. I mean, we want eyeballs on our books. People want eyeballs on their movies. On television, it's all about how many eyeballs can you get, because that drives ad revenue, and that is really what pays for the networks. So it's the crazy stories, the more extravagant stuff, and taking a side and making a crazy statement, or something that you might not even say out loud, even if you were thinking it. They will do it because then people say, "Oh, what did that guy say? Why is he saying that?" You know, and go to it. It gets those eyeballs glued to it. And it really, it's crazy to me how like Andy, whoever said it, I think it's Hughes TV. One side can present it one way, one side can present another, and both of them are both right and wrong at the same time.
Yeah. I'm not it. Like when I'm walking through the house and I see that the news is on, I'll change it just because, I mean, no, like, let's say there's a murder. There's like, what is it? Like a murder like every 12 or 20 seconds. And I feel like for them, it's just like a gap. You know, if they don't have anything to talk about, they'll just pick a murder that's more interesting and they'll implement that. And it's really sad. And I don't find entertainment in watching depressing stuff. And stuff, I just really don't trust the news. And anyway, RJ, I want to know why you came up with this idea of deception.
Have y'all seen the show Adam Ruins Everything? I think it's on True TV.
Actually,
I've seen
my
some
girlfriend just showed me that.
I was when Andy was asked for a topic, and I actually happened to be watching the show that night or somewhere thereabout, and they came on an episode with the reason we have tamper-proof tabs is because Tylenol had somebody had opened Tylenol bottles, put cyanide pills in them, and then some people died. That's the whole reason we have tamper-proof tabs, and the odds of actually somebody doing that again are incredibly small, but it's still it's the illusion of safety. And on that same episode, I think they were talking about the TSA, how all the increased security since 9/11 hasn't actually caught that many more people than they wouldn't have before all the changes, like taking your shoes off and blah 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 blah. Most of what they catch is like pocket knives that are now illegal, or fake grenades or something, novelty things. But it's the illusion of security, and that's where the whole idea came from. The same with a lock. I don't know if have y'all ever actually tried to pick a lock?
So funny story. My family had 3 locks on our door, and I was actually having a low blood sugar moment and was really weak. And I put all my energy into one kick to the left of the doorknob, and I like kicked the door right off the hinges. I don't know if that's what you're going at, but like it served no purpose. Like I was in the house in 5 seconds.
Basically the same thing. I mean, if you have a hairpin and know what you're doing, you can pick a lock within 30 seconds, within a minute. And I've done it on just because I wanted to see if I could do it, not with a hairpin, but just like with the actual lock pick. And it's surprisingly easy. You're working it, and all of a sudden it just turns, and it's a weird feeling, just like that Skyrim. The lock turns. Yeah.
We actually had a girl on here. Oh, I forgot her name. We have so many people, but she was practicing lock picking. It was like one of her hobbies was lock picking and throwing knives. Andy, who was that?
Jessica Fry, I think.
Okay, yeah, she's cool. So is there deception in your book?
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay.
By that, there's a crap ton.
There's a ton of deception in the Dark Assassin series, which I believe deception is a huge like trope of any book that has assassins in it, right?
Yeah, you can't not have it, because assassins work in the shadows. A lot of times the villains that you write in, they are sort of the mirror or the counterpart to the character, the protagonist, because you don't want to have a little tiny person facing off against a giant, or a giant facing off against a little tiny person, because one of them is going to smush the other. And so there's got to sort of be a balance in power or ability and stuff like that. So you usually have the personalities that are similar as well. So an assassin who works in the shadows will end up facing someone else working from the shadows, and there's this sort of dance until finally they meet face to face, and there's this big clash, and one of them ends up dead.
It's funny because my assassin in my series is always the one being deceived. He never does any of the deceiving himself, and so it was my first series, and I wouldn't say it's a mistake. It actually became kind of interesting to see him get deceived. But I don't know. I thought it was he's an assassin who's really bad at it. So I kind of turned him more into a warrior who has the skills of an assassin. And that's what happens when you don't outline your books. Weird things just start to happen. So, but I really love the outcome of it. Actually, that's a lie. He does deceive himself into a party where he almost with the king's daughter, but ends up knocking her out because she initiates one of his reflexes and he knocks her out with a punch. And then I think he hides her under the bed. One of my favorite scenes. And there I go, making the podcast awkward again. Andy, take it away. Take it out of my hands.
No, you're doing good. You're deceiving us. You deceive us every week by presenting intelligent arguments, and then we hear things like this, and we're like, wait a minute.
Who is this? Yeah, it's just I have no comment. No comment. So is the scene we're reading today have deception in it?
No, I don't think it does. That would have been smart, though, wouldn't it have?
That's fine. You know what? When we brought up deceiving, I kind of, for some reason, thought of romantic relationships, deception in that line, you know, meeting someone who really isn't who they are. And even to the point where you meet someone who you think you know who they are, but that person doesn't even know who they are. And then they just slowly change. Not growth, but they revert back to who they really are. So they show you someone they want you to see, but
Because
then as you
you
get to
think they
know
know
them,
them.
yeah, exactly. And then as you get to know them, they start morphing. I don't know. That was my thought when we came up with deception.
You know, when it comes to people, there's two sides to that particular coin. Number one is we all present a very specific front to the world. This is a social psychology 101 that we all present an image to the world. And so as you get to know someone, the layers are peeled away. You see the true them beneath. Now, the true them is actually something that is unconscious and subconscious in their brain. You don't know what the true is you. The way you act and the way you react to situations, your instincts, that's the real you. So you may think that you're a calm, confident person, and then you get into a situation and your reaction is to freak the fuck out. Or maybe you think you're a super nervous person, and then yet you react another way entirely in the situation. So there's that side of things, is that who people meet is not who we are. But then over time, we evolve according to the people that we're around. You know, we're shaped by the people in our lives, whether it's our friends, our family, our enemies, even, everyone we encounter shapes us in some way. So it's not as much a deception as much as an evolution. Because the person that you meet, like often relationships are the one that people go to, the guy I married or the girl I married is different. And that's true. It's not that anything, it's not that they consciously change. It's that their circumstances, their social environment, their, the pressures, the stresses they faced, they changed drastically or changed them or caused them to be changed. And so it's sort of this evolution that if you're not careful can lead you down this horrible path. Or if it's the right kind of evolution, it makes you a much better person for it, and your relationship is stronger for it. So it's all about sort of following that path of evolution, as opposed to sort of concealing the truth of who we are. But one thing that popped into my head when just a few minutes ago was sleight of hand. I studied magic for a few months when I was a teenager. I could actually do some pretty badass magic tricks. And sleight of hand is actually a really interesting concept, or like a thought pattern, is in that you make people look in one direction when the other hand's doing the magic. So when I'm doing this, you're automatically looking at the jump drive, and you're not noticing the finger flipping you off over here. So it's just so that's that in my mind when characters, or when the villains are deceiving, is they're saying, okay, look over here. Like in my current series, the villains of the piece are stirring up chaos and riots in the city. So everyone is so focused on the riots that they're not prepared for the assassination attempt, or they're not prepared for the poisoning attempt, or they're not, they're not seeing something. So one of the classic acts of deception that villains often use in stories is this sort of sleight of hand. Look over here while I'm doing this over here. And it's different, I would say, than propaganda, because propaganda is using, messages and stuff as a front to hide some subtle meaning, whereas deception is an actual act of making, drawing attention away while doing something else elsewhere.
And that was kind of the whole way to win a battle back in the day.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh, it's real quick. I was just going to say, I really enjoy I just thought of this. I actually deceive readers into thinking I write good books. No, just kidding. No, I deceive the reader as I show them something really cool, this epic battle or something, and then they don't see me slipping the twist in. You know, they're like, oh, I should have seen it coming. I deceive the mind of the reader by giving them something else to look at when there was something before that foreshadowed the twist coming. So they forget about the foreshadow, they get the big event, and then they get the twist.
Yeah,
and I think I do that subconsciously.
There is a lot of
I think it's just a natural
that goes into writing a novel.
Attribute. What's that?
There is a lot of deception that goes into writing a novel, especially this sleight of hand. You know, you want people to look somewhere, so I'll often do something that I'll set up a problem, you know, an answer, and I'll solve it. But the answer that I actually wanted to solve was something else. So the character's like, okay, you know, we took care of this problem, and all of a sudden the real problem kicks off. And it's like, because the circumstances are changed, the information that they previously had is now has a totally different connotation or a totally different meaning. And so, you know, from the character behind the scenes who's doing things, he could see the logical progression. But for the characters who are, you know, who have that twist, that is where the deception comes in, is that they only see bits and pieces. And then when you present them that final piece of the puzzle, then everything falls into place and they realize, oh, this is actually what it is. And so as authors, it's our job to sort of deceive the readers. Like you said, look over here. Here's the super important thing while you're doing something else in the background. And that something in the background is ultimately what culminates in that big, awesome twist at the very end that readers never see coming. But then when they go back and reread, they're like, oh, I could have seen that coming. Like in Darkblade Justice, one of the opening lines of the novel is that the brightest clothes often hide the darkest soul, right? And so that is something that I dropped in there. And by the end of the book, it turns out that means here's the killer. But only when readers go back and you know, whether they read it again or they're like, wait a minute, and they go back and they read it again, that line jumps out at them and they realized, okay, he told me from the beginning who it was going to be. Just I didn't know because I didn't have all of the information that I needed to make this to reach this conclusion. And
that's
so
awesome.
It is really fun to do that. Like you know, all of my stories, they do have this element of I'm giving you the answers in the beginning, but you're only going to know they're the answers at the very end. And then, you know, when readers go back and read it, they're like, okay, this is what it was. And so it makes for a much richer reading experience, for me at least.
I agree. I mean, this is, in this instance, I think is one of the fewer times deception can be a good thing as a whole, right? If you're talking about assassin who's going to kill people, if you're trying to win a war and it's a just war, you know, we can argue that all day, you know, trying to make good win. But, you know, in entertainment, that's what you're looking for, is that deception, that twist, the twist on something new. You want it familiar enough, but then that twist is really what gets it. And I love foreshadowing in the books. When I do it, when I'm writing and do it, I'm just like, oh, I hope somebody sees this, and just like they have that aha moment. Oh, he told me that in chapter 3 or whatever, you know. Yeah. Like in my series, one of the bad guys in book 2, there's a small scene in book 1 where he does like he's in there, but you don't even know it until you come back. It's revealed in book 2 what happened, and I just enjoy that. That's kind of,
yeah. You know, one thing. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's almost like the Easter egg hunts when you're watching movies to see those. It's just it's fun.
One thing I noticed that about like villains in some certain things is there's this sort of deceptiveness to them. Like in the beginning of the movie, you're introduced to someone who kicks puppies or someone who murders children or whatever it is, right? They do horrible things. But then as the movie progresses, you see these different layers of the villain, to the point where by the end of the movie, you can almost empathize with him or sympathize with him. You know, a great example of this is Wilson Fisk from the Daredevil TV show, right? He's probably one of the greatest villains on TV. At the beginning, in the opening scene, you immediately know that Wilson Fisk is a bad guy, right? He does horrible things. He literally beats someone to death by slamming their head in a car door until he crushes their skull. And it's just blood and gross. But then layer by layer, the writers, they pull back the deception until you see who Wilson Fisk really is. And then you're left with this question of, is he actually the bad guy that I expected? You know, you're deceived at the beginning, and then you find more information until you find yourself questioning everything you know. And then when you come to the ending, there's the climactic scene, and then you realize, yes, he is the bad guy. No, he isn't the bad guy. Then there's this sort of resolution. It's almost like an exhale, because you've been questioning this for so long, and there's the answer, and it's I got, you know, you get it. But a lot of people, a lot of movies and TV shows are doing that now, you know, by they're introducing this villain, this hardcore villain who's just evil straight up, at least right off the bat. But then they dig into him more, and you come to know a lot more about them.
I wanted to add that I think it's the author's job to deceive the reader that they're really in an actual world, and it enough that it'll take them away from the real world that they live in. So we create this world that's so realistic and so enticing that we deceive the person that they're actually living it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Right, good enough to where they can push that suspension of disbelief button, and then
exactly,
if they can get in your world, in your head, then that's everything. Those are the books you don't want to put down. You're sitting up way too late at night just flipping pages or scrolling.
And it's our job not to break that contract and pull them out of that false reality, I would say. So
I would concur.
Andy, was that an intelligent thing I just said?
That was very intelligent, Stevie. Well done.
Do you guys want to go ahead and do the reading now?
Definitely.
All right. Hold on.
I actually printed it out, if you can believe that. Wasting trees.
Yeah, waste some trees. Let's see. Okay. And so, RJ, do you want to give us a little backstory for this passage?
No, none at all.
Let's just jump right into it with no one will even know what's going on.
So the main character in the series is Jayton Baird, and it's all told through his eyes in first person. He's going to watch one of his new friends fight in one of his fights in the tournament. And the new friend's name is Corbman, and he's modeled after one of my best friends. And if anybody reads the book and kind of the way Corbman acts, just goofy and crazy, that's pretty much my friend. I literally modeled it after him. And he's one of my beta readers, and I sent it to him, and he was reading it, and he literally showed his wife a snippet of what the character said, and she said, I could totally see you saying that.
That's awesome.
Well written, then.
Yeah.
You must know him pretty well.
So, and then there's a little bit of the, I guess maybe I did do this. There's a little bit of the romance in there that, not any deception really, but presenting who you are and how the relationship evolves. So the love interest of Jayton is actually in the second part of it. But it's all, so in book 2, there's 10 rounds. In Death Cloud, there's 10 rounds of the death tournament. And this is about round 2 or 3-ish, if I remember right.
Nice.
Of course, I didn't print out any headings, and then you asked me a question, I'm like, I don't know.
Is this a lit RPG?
No, it's not. But I've heard a couple of readers have said it reads like one sometimes, or it could easily be one. Or people who like the genre like the book, if you will. Right. So
you wrote a lit RPG though, right?
I was going to in a short story contest, and then life got in the way, and I didn't end up getting it done.
Okay.
But I've got urban fantasy. And I know that's y'all's favorite genre.
Yeah, it's Andy's favorite actually.
Yeah, like Twilight.
Oh
yeah,
man, we got
like
almost all the way through it before that came up.
Well, that was just like a little warning. What?
Yeah. No one knows what we're talking about. Thank God.
Yeah.
So
all right. So RJ, what parts are there, and who would you prefer playing which? Or
So I color coded it again for you guys.
thank you.
Stevie, I think you should be the narrator, which is Jayton.
Okay.
So those are the actual words in blue, and then all the black text. I was like, Andy, you should be Anton, and he's the Texas draw guy. He's the gold. He's only got one line, but it's right there at the first in gold.
I'll do it.
I want to be the announcer because I wrote it and I want to be.
Good.
And then Andy, you and I can both be the crowd.
Okay.
Oh, the announcer is the green highlighted.
Yep.
We'll both be the crowd, which is blue highlighted.
And I'll do Royan because he's
Royan,
cool.
yes, yeah. And then you can do Corbman too. He's the red text.
Okay.
Royan is the green text.
All right.
All right, you guys ready?
Yep.
I'm going to the arena, I announced to the group, filling my quarters. My fight wasn't until later in the day, and we'd been prepping, but I couldn't stand being cooped up anymore. Several people glanced over, and Troop and Celeste, apparently volunteering as my normal bodyguards now, got up. Royan asked, not looking up from his notes.
Why are you heading up?
To watch Corbman's fight. He's a friend, and I want to see how he does.
Well, let's go then.
Anton said, jumping up.
I got to see what that crazy Halter does. He's got something up his sleeve. I just know it.
Liana acted like she was going to stand, but then she frowned and went back to playing cards with Morgan. Uh-oh, still mad at me. We managed to find our seats just as the announcers started.
And here we go again, ladies and gentlemen. And have we got a good one for you right now? Our number 8 fighter.
Corbman was ranked that high? Holy crap.
Corbman Kermit.
As he drew out the name, the crowd went nuts, my group yelling with them. Corbman milked every second of it, doing some crazy bows, flips, and somersaults while waving to everyone, yelling something at the top of his lungs, but we couldn't hear a thing. Somewhere we heard a chant start.
Lava man, lava man, lava man.
It took an abnormal amount of time for everyone to get quiet, and Corbman did nothing but egg it on. Somehow, the announcer introduced his opponent, who got considerably less applause. That had to be disheartening. But it didn't bother Spur, apparently, as he swung a massive battle axe around, loosening his muscles.
Fighters ready?
Corbman once again made a show, moving wildly and doing at least 3 flips before getting on into a ready stance.
All right, Axeman, get ready. If you're not careful, I'll melt your face off.
The crowd erupted, and I think few people other than me noticed that Corbman's smile was replaced by a stone face of concentration. Spur just spit.
Fight!
Spur went right in it at the heifer, swinging that axe like he knew what he was doing. Corbman dodged each strike, bringing up a column of earth to block the last one, the earth then leaping onto his arm and sending a fireball into Spur's midsection, flinging him to the other end of the arena. The crowd cheered and Corbman gave a bow before walking towards his rising opponent. Then an odd thing happened. That earth around his arm just melted.
Lava arm.
Lava
arm.
Apparently, the crowd knew what was. Corbman stood there in the red glow, his face showing no discomfort. Spur finally got up and punched, a technique that should have produced a fireball, yet nothing happened. Spur moved, performing a spinning kick that should have sent an air slice at Corbman. Again, nothing happened. Spur moved 2 more times, a double punch meant to move earth and a sweeping hand motion meant to shoot a water jet, and still nothing happened. No element moved at all. I flicked the Ignis on and off, just enough to get a scorecard. Then I scooted up in my seat and told my group, "Suppress. He has a suppress quantum, a strong one." Abandoning powers, Spur dove back into attacking with his axe, swinging with all his might. Corbman's arm, which started working its way around his shoulders and then down his left arm until his torso was covered. At that point, Corbman began hurling balls of lava at Spur, who danced as best he could to avoid the molten rock, and batting some away with the head of his axe. Eventually, one of the balls clipped Spur's shoulder, extracting a squeal of pain, and the man went down. Cordman rushed in, ready to finish him off, the blow coming way too fast to block, and everyone knew it. I thought Spur knew it, and I expected him to yield. But he didn't. Cordman's lava-covered fist smashed into his head. No blood spilled, but a sickening crack echoed through the stadium. The crowd erupted again, and Cordman stood. For a second, his face was stoic, but then the expression disappeared and the showman returned. Breathing hard, Cordman let the lava drop, then raised his hands to the crowd, shouting,
"Oh yeah, who's the man?
You're the man.
Came back to him.
Who's the man?
You're the man. Lava man. Lava man.
Oh, come on. You're too much. Thank you. Thank you."
Cordman said, making some crazy bows as he exited stage left. An hour later, back in my prep room, I was getting antsy. My fight was coming up fast. I had a little trouble when we simulated this particular opponent back when we were training on the east side, but I was still able to win those simulations. Katie, Anton, Leona, and Royn were in various stages of tension, standing and sitting, but not still, the others having already went to their seats. Leona was a necessity in the room. I didn't want her to come at first, as she was still mad at me, but Royn insisted, since she had spied on this opponent, and give me the best information and strategies. Since I didn't have a choice and it actually made sense, I didn't say anything, though the tension between us was evident. We had just finished going through the checklist one more time when the guard stuck his head in.
10 minutes, sir.
Royn, Katie, and Anton turned to gather the stuff, and Leona started to stand as well. I grabbed her arm. "Leona, I need to apologize to you," I said, suddenly serious and looking directly at her. She stopped, but looked intrigued and pissed at the same time. Didn't really know that was possible. Well, I took a deep breath. "I'm sorry for my rude comment. I was being very insensitive. I don't like the fact that everyone is risking their necks for me, especially the girls, and especially since I can't protect them or you when I'm stuck in this damn stadium. It frustrates me to no end, and I took that out on you. I flat don't like it. Can you forgive me?" A few seconds went as she stared at me. Then slightly nodded and walked away and sat down. Good enough for me. Royn walked over and started in on me.
"Jay, you better not let..."
"I know, sir."
"Then if he tries the next one, you'll have to..."
"I know, sir."
"And then if that doesn't work, you'll..."
Royn, I get it. I know the plan," I shouted, maybe a little louder than I'd meant. He strolled over to me and put a hand on my shoulder.
"Jayton, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to look out for you. You've got this, son."
I know. I'm sorry. It's just...
5 minutes, sirs. Yes, you need to be in your seats in 3 minutes.
Damn it. Time. It moved too fast at times like these. Royn and Anton shook my hand and patted my shoulder, and Katie gave me a hug while they exited. Leona was the last to leave. For the first time that day, she looked me right in the eye. "Good luck, Jayton Baird." Then she single-armed hugged me and floated out the door without looking back.
And
Wonderful.
The one thing that stood out to me from the first time I read it and was just how much like Avatar it read. The columns of Earth, shooting up, or the slice of air. I never watched the Avatar cartoons, but I enjoyed the movie enough, and I know the concepts of reading it was a lot of fun for me. It was like watching Avatar mixed with all of my favorite Chinese martial arts movies. So well done.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, really fun read. I very quickly, and it's hard for me to get lost in something I'm reading, and suspend disbelief, but it happened really quickly with your book. So that's awesome. And it reminded me of a few animes that I watched too. So do you watch anime?
Anime flair.
Yes, I don't watch a whole lot of it, but I watched Dragon Ball Z. Naruto was the one I got the deepest into. If you need a good one, that's a good one.
I've watched it. So yeah, it's great.
I actually watched Bleach, the live action movie that Netflix made.
Yeah, is it good?
It was a little corny, but it was pretty good. It was interesting.
I like Bleach too. So yeah, I definitely got an anime feel. Andy, you said you felt the anime feel?
Yeah, it made me think of Avatar. just the whole battle scene, with the like I was expecting them to stomp and the earth pillars to shoot up or something.
What suspended his powers? What was it again?
Say that again.
That made him so he couldn't use his elements anymore. What happened?
Oh, so that's a quantum power, which are like extra powers, like superpowers, really. So when I created the world, I didn't want to limit it to just the elements because I wanted more. So any quantum power is extra. Like Jayton has strength, speed, strength, transition, the Morse Nube, Ignis Oculus, and one I'm forgetting. Oh, telekinesis, which nobody ever gets 5. So of course the hero's got to get 5, right?
Makes him
But
different.
Corbman's power is suppress, so he can suppress other people's power. So when the guy was spinning and doing all the punches and stuff, some elements were supposed to be reacting and they weren't at all. So he was suppressing those powers.
So in French, corbeau is crow. Is that where you got the name?
No, my friend's name is Corbett, and I just...
Oh, okay. Well, it works in French too because it's either raven or crow, but still it's a cool name for a guy because corbeau is... I swear I was like, oh, that's nice. He looked up a French word. Give this guy like the bad guy. I'm assuming he's the bad guy, the raven or crow name.
Yeah.
So awesome. Well, Andy, I think that's it for this podcast, huh?
That's it for you. Yes, sir.
I always hate the ending of these.
Did y'all, if we got 1 second, did y'all catch the Ocean's 11 scene in there with it?
Wait, which one?
No.
Which part? I've seen the movie.
So right at the end, where Roy and Jayton are talking, they're going back and forth, knowing what the others have to say. It's like when Brad Pitt and George Clooney were like, we need another, but what if we did it? They were kind of finishing each other's.
Right. I don't remember that scene from the movie, but it was great banter. Like it shows a real familiarity between them that like establishes the character dynamic really well.
And I like how the girl like wasn't like accepting of him right away, like lovey-dovey. So I'm guessing she's like this sassy character.
She can be, yeah.
She can be. Okay, I got you.
She kind of tells it like
plays hard to get. Awesome. Well, RJ, where can people find you, man? Your website? Are you on Amazon, Kindle Unlimited?
All of those. So the website's just rjbatla, batla.com. I'm on Amazon, RJ Batla. You just search that. A lot of stuff comes up. Fire Eyes Awakened, book 1 is in Kindle Unlimited, and Edgewalker, my urban fantasy series, which if you like the Dresden Files, this is basically a smart-ass wizard detective. That's pretty much how that book goes too. That's in Kindle Unlimited, but the other 2 or 3 are not. And then I'm on Facebook, RJ Batla author, Instagram, Twitter, same handle. Man, I just thanks for having me, guys. Super excited.
Looks like you've been busy. You have a lot more books now.
Yeah, it's crazy, huh? It's I wish I had more out. Yeah, my cover artist is badass. Andy, did I send you the one for Morgan's short story?
No, not yet.
Okay, I'll send that to y'all later.
Cool.
It's
good.
My artist is improving every single time. It's just he does. His name is Damjan. Starts with a G. It's like Romanian or something, and I can't pronounce it at all.
My first cover artist was Romanian too. I wonder if that has anything to, like, if they're just all artists over there. I don't know. Andy, anything else you want to add before we end this?
Nope, that's it for me. I mean, next week we've got JT Williams coming on the podcast. We're definitely not going to talk about assassins because he knows nothing about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we know that firsthand.
Despite the ongoing...
Who won that battle?
I think ultimately the hunter got like 1 more vote. It was like 4-3 or something. But then someone derailed it and they were like, my assassin's more badass. Or no, my assassin's more badass. So it kind of went off the rails. But I'm taking the win.
Good. Yeah, because I haven't read JT Williams' Assassin yet. I like his name though. Now that and I've forgotten it now. What is it? Sviska. I love that. Is that Russian, you think, or what is that?
It would have some Eastern European,
like Slovakian,
like
Slovak name. Okay. All right, guys. Well, that is it for this Fantasy Fiends podcast. Remember, once we hit 300 subscribers, Andy will shave half his beard and pierce his nipples. So I'm looking forward to that. And he's going to do it live. Andy, you should do it live.
I'm pretty sure I'm not going to bring my computer. I mean, yeah, my computer into the bathroom to shave my beard. I'll just have to show up on the podcast.
Do you shave in the bathtub?
No, I meant bathroom. I don't fit in the bathtub. Basically, I can get my legs in the bathtub or my body, and then my legs are like up on the wall like this. That's the only way I can take a bath.
Thanks for giving me that image. It was a very hairy image.
Yes, it is.
A lot of skin. A lot of skin, a lot of hair. I don't know why, but I gave you like this amazing six-pack. Never mind. Anyway. All right, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by to listen to the Fantasy Fiends podcast. Please smash that like button for you boys and subscribe. We love you all. We hope you have a great night. We'll see you next week where we have JT Williams, and we will certainly not be talking about assassins. Good night.